Hello everyone and welcome to Zach's Garage. Today you join me at Superventura where we are seeing the 18th Koenigsegg ever made. Right here we have the Koenigsegg RSN featured earlier on the channel, and behind me the Koenigsegg CCR. So here it is then, from 2005, the Koenigsegg CCR. Well, the first ever Koenigsegg was actually the CC8S, the predecessor to this car. Now this car is the CC8R, being the more hardcore, lightweight version of the CC8S. So this is actually Koenigsegg's first attempt at making the lighter version of their first car. So for example, you had the Agera, then you had the Agera R, then the RS, and so on. So what I want to do today is show you around this car and show you how much Koenigsegg have come leaps and bounds since 2005. So without further ado, let's have a look around it. So let's start off in the interior of the CCR. Now, the first thing I've noticed is how much Koenigsegg have come since 2005. Well, firstly, and this is going to sound strange, but the lack of branding surprises me in a way, because on the Regera and the Agera, there was shields and wording everywhere, and there is still quite a lot in this, but less so. But I digress, we don't need to cover aesthetics. The first thing you'll notice is this whopping great big 6-speed shifter, and if you take a listen, that is something that every car driver wants to hear. A really good, almost, well, it's not gated because it hasn't got a gate, but it almost sounds like a gated shifter, and it's a proper hard throw and a really good feel to it. The dashboard features the RPM gauge in the middle, and underneath that's where the speedometer and all the other dials would be. You've got the indicator lights either side and the headlights on the top. So it's a very simple layout, but the way they did it was functional. It was the way that they had to show all the bits that the driver needed to see, nothing more and nothing less. The seats, they are surprisingly comfortable. They've got a lot of padding in them. The only thing I would say is that the seats are very tight, bearing in mind that they have the carbon bucket seats here, but then they just have the padded inserts in the middle. So, I mean, is it as comfortable as the Agera? I'd say it's about on par. I think if you're someone a bit narrower than me, this would be a very, very comfortable car. The cockpit is very basic, but it features the nice leather in the middle, Alcantara on the dashboard, and also you'll notice that the shape is so familiar. Bearing in mind this is an older Koenigsegg, the shape, this feels like, if you took all the branding away, this is automatically easy to see it's a Koenigsegg, whether it be the two arches on the dashboard or the way that the windscreen curves round. It's something that is so unique to the brand now that they have made it identifiable by the smallest of features. This car especially features such things as a lap timer that came from Koenigsegg, something quite special there. It also has the strangest way of starting it. Now, unfortunately, I can't start it today, but I can show you what you would have to do for the startup process. So in order to start the car, what you would do is you'd press the lightning bolt, which gives power, and then press IGN, which puts power to the ignition, switches the ignition on. Then you'd press the lightning bolt and the engine logo, that turns over the engine and starts it. Now the center console is, funny enough, very familiar, bearing in mind that this is from 2005. Our Agera had a very similar layout. Admittedly, the buttons were hidden and they're a bit more refined, but they're still the same layout. You've got the window up and window down. You've also got the interior light. You've got fog lights and side lights. If you want them on headlights, you twist the center knob onto headlights. And then you've got the flashers and windscreen wipers on here. Now you've also got this Sony speaker. Now that I'm unsure of if it's original. They did originally have a speaker, but because they were just pull-out speakers, a lot of people changed them. So you've got some CCRs and even some CCXs where they have a little screen that pops out. Some people prefer that. Automatically sitting in this, you can tell how analog it is, but somehow it's still very, very refined. More features on the car that is very similar to the modern day cars. The little glove box down here, the fact that you can't actually fit anything in it, and you can't fit a modern day phone because they're a little bit too thick to go in there. So yeah, I don't really know what that was for. Maybe a passport or something as you're crossing the border at 200 miles an hour. But anyway, I think that's the interior covered. But if we go to the back, let me show you the engine. Let's talk about some engine bits. So this Koenigsegg, the CCR, is the first Koenigsegg to feature the engine from the factory. The CC8S actually had a Ford engine. See, this is the first glimpse into Koenigsegg's future, making their own incredible engines. Now this is actually a 4.7 litre twin supercharged V8. That's right, twin superchargers. So it's a manual 6-speed with 2 superchargers and a V8. Now, if someone came out with that nowadays, it would be baffling. People would be like, this is going to be nuts. It's going to be some form of American muscle car. No, this was a Swedish hypercar. So it produced 806 brake horsepower. That's quite a lot. Considering, yes, sure, you can probably get a G-Wagon with a Brabus kit on with the same power, but the way this gives that power is truly extraordinary. And when it comes to torque, 920 Newton meters of torque. Now, yes, okay, the Regera is 2000, but look back. This thing smashed records. It broke speed records. It broke the Nardo speed record. It broke the Nuremberg slalom record. This thing was really putting Koenigsegg on the map. And, well, we're currently sitting in a Koenigsegg showroom with the RSN in front of us. So, yeah. In terms of aesthetics of the engine, obviously, as it's not turbocharged like the new ones, the layout is very different. The exhaust manifold is this whopping great big silver box, and the suspension no longer has Öhlins dampers because, well, they hadn't teamed up with Öhlins to make their tri-Öhlins dampers. But I think looking at this, you can see that it sort of emphasizes power because it's just a big old lump with a massive air intake for the superchargers. This thing truly is something to behold. Now the CCR had numerous upgrades from its predecessor, the CC8S. Now the CCR featured larger rims, 19-inch, the upgraded stickier Michelin tyres, and numerous aerodynamic improvements such as a longer front splitter, a different headlight cluster with a little bubble on top, which according to Koenigsegg make a big difference, and knowing Christian, it probably does. If we head to the back, what you'll notice is this almost C12 Zonda style rear wing with its little split in the middle. But what I find quite interesting is it sort of tapers inwards towards the body, coming towards the centre of the car. Now that probably made a big difference. I can't tell you because I'm not in a wind tunnel, but as everyone's seen, when you look back on Top Gear, they started changing wing designs because, I mean, it's a bit of a touch and go subject, the Top Gear, but now once all of the CCX happened, that they decided they'd start looking into wing technology and then moved over to the Agera, where it featured, well, quite a substantial hydraulic rear wing. Now, when I say hydraulic, it was only on springs, but it meant it lowered at high speeds, improving aero. And there's one thing for certain, Koenigsegg know how to do aerodynamics. So, production numbers. There was only 14 CCRs made, and only 5 of them were right-hand drive, this being one of them. Now, I want to talk a little bit on aesthetics, the more simple stuff that as soon as you see the car, it's the first things you notice. And, well, what better way to start than the green? Koenigsegg Racing Green. This car was the first and only car to wear full Koenigsegg Racing Green. It's the colour of their family, is their family's colour. And if you notice on the Jesko, that it's also got bits of this exact colour on it as well, because when the Jesko was first sort of seen in Geneva with the covers on, they only showed a little bit of the racing green, so people thought that it might be coming back. But this CCR is the only Koenigsegg to wear the racing green. Also, certain small changes include the plastic headlights, the stuck-on shield instead of the emblem, which is now engraved in metal. As mentioned before, the longer front splitter, and I mean, only on this car to display, how about that number plate? I mean, that's quite something, isn't it? So, the one thing that I found one of the most interesting things in terms of the process and the progress of this car, the windscreen wiper. Now, on all Koenigsegg's now, the windscreen wiper is pointing upwards. Well, the design hasn't changed, but for some reason, on CCRs, they stuck to the side. So at some point, Christian must have been driving this and gone, I've just thought of something, put the windscreen wiper bang on in the middle, and ever since then it's been an aerodynamic improvement, and B, quite a feature of Koenigsegg. Something quite special there. As mentioned before, unfortunately we can't start nor drive the car, but next time it goes out, I promise you I will get a ride in the car and I will take you guys along for the experience. Now the thing I want to say the most is thank you so much to Cinematographer. I encourage you guys to look back on my first video. I was standing right here, had no clue about YouTube, and I was filming the one-to-one, and ever since then they've always helped me on all the cars and they've never ceased to amaze on support. So please, please go check out their website. You can actually see this car for sale on their website and many other very special cars indeed. And as always, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Cheers.